Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Cosmic Human Design Podcast. We are having fun behind the scenes here. And yeah, praise the Lord that we have this show. Praise the creator of this universe and Mother Earth and Flat Earth and Octagon Earth, whatever she is.
Don't tell the jokes. Those are private.
Okay, no jokes from behind the scenes, everybody. But we are happy to bring you the show tonight. We have lots of cool information for you and fun topics. We always have a good time on this show, and the hour flies by. So pay attention, everybody, because there is always golden nuggets in every one of these shows and everything that we talk about here. Of course, we've got JARIN and Richard switching spots here. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is not correct. Your host here did not do a good job of editing out here. I will fix that.
So we're both MGs. We're
there
both
we go. Look at that. There we go.
Yes.
Now we got it. All right. Of course, we've got JARIN KENYON, who is a traveling motivational speaker and has taught human design and now cosmic human design for over 10 years. He works one-on-one with clients and has done lots of public speaking. And JARIN, when were you expecting the book? You gonna write a book for us, JARIN?
Oh, yeah. Any moment now. It'll come out right when the Cosmic Human Design Academy comes out, and any moment we're gonna get to that.
Okay, very good. And of course, we've got the Yale graduate with a brand new haircut, Richard Mason, and he has done all of the mathematics and all the different things behind the scenes to make the sky the right way here in the human design, to make it cosmic human design. How you doing, Richard?
Hey, Greg. Great to be back for another week of the show.
Absolutely. And Richard, just you sent out this amazing thoughts in your head here about cosmic human design. Wanted everybody to know something. I think we should get right into what's going on here, Richard.
Yeah, well, I actually, I guess, felt inspired today for once in the last couple of weeks. It's been a kind of slow last couple of weeks, getting all this stuff together for cosmic human design. All the information is there. It just needs to be put into perspective, put in, collected and, outlined for people. And I think they'll find that it's really mind blowing, because I haven't even talked to most people about, the little things, big things actually, that I keep discovering about this system and how it's going to be so impactful for the world ultimately, and how it is truly the next step of human design. So yeah, I did post on the Facebook group today this overview of cosmic human design, because it's something I hadn't really done yet, was outline what exactly is cosmic human design, besides obviously the difference in astrology. When I first came out with this, I called it true sidereal human design, because it was using true sidereal astrology. But then, I shortly afterwards, I changed the name to cosmic human design. So yeah, I kind of explain where all that's coming from. And, this is about more than just the astrology, is what I want to really get across to people.
Gotcha. All right. Well, why don't we get into that, Richard? Here, I can bring it on over.
Fresh off the press an hour ago.
Look at that. It's like a brand new newspaper article that just came out. Yes. Breaking news. What do you got for us, Richard?
So yeah, so we see here the two main things that differentiate cosmic human design from the standard human design. And those things are, we use true sidereal astrology instead of tropical astrology, and we use a different version of the I Ching, the Oracle of the Cosmic Way, versus the Rave I Ching, which is a version of the I Ching that Ra came out with himself. And, you know, that's where human design gets all the names of all the different lines. You know, the different lines have all these different names and descriptions and stuff. So yeah, that's that. And yeah, this you know, new version of the I Ching is where the name cosmic comes from in Cosmic Human Design. You know, because it was such a synchronicity reading that book at the same time that I was getting what I feel this downloaded information that allow me to program and code, you know, all of this kind of complicated astrology stuff. You know, it kind of just came to me. And reading that book, I realized why. So I named it Cosmic after that book, because I realized that it had already played an instrumental part in, you know, helping me to come up with these calculations in the first place.
Yeah, and the I
Now,
Ching's
besides that,
the I Ching's been a huge part of this show, Richard, too. Over the last month or so, at least, been a huge part of our subjects and stuff. So amazing stuff in there.
Yeah, and I outline, you know, the most important points from that overall in this outline here. So we can take a look at that. So yeah, basically, let's just go down through these different paragraphs, take it a paragraph at a time. So first of all, I make a comment about the astrology, and hopefully I can clarify this once and for all for people about why true sidereal is, according to the logic of human design, the right astrology to use. Because true sidereal astrology goes by the visible sky, okay? And human design says that neutrinos, which travel basically along light, visible light, are what programs us when they pass through planets, when they pass through us. So literally, that's saying where you actually see the planet in the sky is where the neutrinos are activating from. And, you know, they'll activate a different hexagram there. See, the thing is, according to the tropical standard astrology used in human design, everything is rotated from where it actually appears to be. Tropical says, no, it's over there. It's not where you see it, it's over there, you know? And if people would just take a minute and think about how much sense that doesn't make, you know, I think a lot of people would lose faith in the tropical astrology.
Yeah, and you know, JARIN has said many times that you know, most of the world, 99% of the world, uses the tropical, which is the fake, and so we are living in a false reality right now with this astrology, and you know, it's that cognitive dissonance, right? It's the idea that you have to change the way you think and the way you do things and question things that may be really hard to question internally. That's why people don't want to do it or don't think about it or subconsciously won't question it. They'll make excuses why, oh, never mind, it wouldn't be that anyways. I don't know what they're talking about with this truest, you know, they're not going to even go step even towards that idea of questioning something that maybe they built their business on, something that they've built their dating life on, whatever it is, you know, that's where they're going to go, no, I'm not going to go there. JARIN, you got a comment about that?
Yeah, I think it goes with many things. What you've been programmed to identify to, you become attached to. You know, you attach it to memory, it becomes you. You have a hard time letting go of that version of you. And here's the thing, you know, just interjecting briefly, it's just having an open mind to anything, right? So even if you don't automatically want to go to this as the answer, the end all answer, you contemplate on it, play it out, listen, look at the chart yourself, get a reading, have someone go through yourself and see what you feel like after a little bit of time. I mean, I've seen 98% of people immediately feel it on a soul or higher self level, albeit some took a little bit longer to get there. Maybe they have an actual emotional authority in, cosmic human design, in your true self. Who knows? There's a lot of other things involved in that, but I myself took 3 or 4 months till I felt prepared to even dive into it fully, so you have your own timing, be open and see what resonates for you. But the reality is, you can't fake math. You can't fake how the, nature, you can't fake the material of what's in front of you. And so this is the accurate map. And many of us will get it and many of us won't. And, that's okay.
Yeah, a lot of people they realize that tropical astrology doesn't match what's in the sky, but they still say, oh well, it's the signs are different from the constellations. It's about the signs. But the signs are based on the constellations. And
right.
And if we're using astrology in the first place, which says where a planet is has some influence on us depending on where it is, if we don't even care about where it really is, then why are we even using astrology? So if Mars is in Leo, but our zodiac says it's in Cancer, it just seems to be counterproductive to the reason we used astrology in the first place. So
right.
Yeah, the astrology stuff, I don't see how if someone sat down and looked at all the pictures to me really demonstrate what's going on, because basically what you have is a rotation. That's the key point that I think people have a hard time intuitively grasping, that makes such a profound difference in the calculations. The true sidereal zodiac is rotated about 30 degrees from the tropical one. That also means the hexagram wheel, which is aligned with the zodiac, is rotated 30 degrees as well. So where Mars was once activating hexagram 4 in the tropical, now there's a different hexagram in that spot, and everything's different, because of that. It's a rotation. So any neutrinos that are coming in, they're activating a totally different hexagram. So it's really not that complicated, if you think of it that way. As long as you don't get lost in any of these, my God, like a few people tried to tell me that, this wasn't correct because, the sidereal hexagrams were coming from the galaxy. They were, they should be aligned with the galaxy and not around Earth, and I'm like, where did you even come up with that? Like, where are you getting that? And because sidereal has to involve the galaxy, of course, so it had to be something like that, right? But yeah, the astrology is one thing, and I don't want to get lost in talking about the astrology, which for me is pretty clean cut. It's cut and dry, whatever. It's not very super interesting to talk about, I guess, after all this time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's there and this is why, and you can either accept that or not. but I've proven it to my own satisfaction that true sidereal is true, and it absolutely is what we should be using to calculate human design charts. And yeah, so let's go ahead and go down to the next paragraph there. So, you know, I find this to be really what cosmic human design is going to be all about, really, once you know, it starts to be a little more defined. Because this book, this I Ching, the Oracle of the Cosmic Way, it really is an absolute revolution in our understanding of the cosmos, of everything. If you really read through the entire book, it's very, very profound. And, you know, I don't say that lightly. You know, it's more profound than any other book I've ever come across, any other form of knowledge I've ever come across. It's just like, wow. And it's self-consistent. It makes sense out of things that, like, whoa, how do you even make sense out of that? Like, it describes how each of the crazy metaphors in the I Ching that, you know, sound completely crazy actually mean all these particular cosmic things that makes perfect sense when you actually look at it. And it does that for every one of the gates and lines. Anyway, so back on topic here. So the main thing I want to get across to you guys about cosmic human design is, you know, this main point from this new I Ching, which, by the way, claims to be the true version of the I Ching, and all the other versions of the I Ching were, you know, filled with incorrect human ideas of things. Is this idea of the ego, this idea of the ego and collective ego. It's so very key that we understand the basics of this. And basically, the ego is this false self, this kind of like this artificial consciousness, parasite virus, you know, program that's made up of many different programs in your psyche. That is basically conditioned into us during childhood. And, you know, everyone has an ego, everyone, absolutely everyone, unless you're raised by Tibetan monks or something, you know, not in modern society. So this is basically modern conditioning, results in the development of this ego, which is a self-image. It's a persona, a character. An AI, as JARIN likes to say, is an AI. You know, it's an artificial intelligence that doesn't have any real life of its own, but tries to run your life, literally. And this is something very profound, because think about it. Like, so you're saying that there's this ego thing in me every second of the day that is, you know, that may be tempting me to certain directions that aren't my own, to certain false paths in life, if you allow it. And most people, they don't even know that this could ever possibly be a thing. And so they just assume that that is, you know, their true self telling them that. Because this is the thing about the ego, it can even speak in the psyche as I. So, you know, you'll hear yourself saying, I, you know, should do this, this, or that. That could be the ego speaking. A lot of the times it is the ego speaking, because, you know, the ego is very possessive, very, you know, self-centered. So, you know, it might emphatically use the word I, you know, at certain times.
I want to give a little analogy. Think about your ego as like a girlfriend that's like overbearing, that like wants your attention all the time, or a boyfriend, whatever, you know, it is. But that would be where I like to use analogies or little teaching cues, because it makes sense. The ego is always there, and it's always asking you where you're going, what you're doing, why you haven't even paid attention to me lately. And there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, there's this war going on, this inner war going on in every person between their ego and their true self. And the cosmos, everything that exists out there is, of course, on the side of our true self and tries to help the true self whenever possible. But, we're the ones who have to prevent the ego from, running our life, because then when it does, the cosmos retreats from us. Because the ego is not natural. It's not natural. It's not really supposed to be here. It's been created through, millennia of humans' false use of language, basically. And the cosmic gift of language that humans have, it has the ability to create, we have the ability to create a false consciousness, which is what the ego is, false beliefs, false ideas, that when grouped together in this ego program can work together, can update themselves, literally this program can update itself. And, so it's adaptive. So when you are about to leave the matrix, it kicks in and says, hey, what about this and this, to try and make you feel guilt or, any of these other things at leaving the matrix, which is what the matrix is, right? This collective ego
Right.
of programs and, set patterns and behaviors and self-images. The thing about a self-image, like the self-image of being, for example, a successful person or a wealthy person. You think then your life turns into fulfilling that self-image. But it was an image of yourself to begin with, so it was never actually, your real self. And so it's kind of like your true self gets sacrificed to the self-image. So that's basically what the ego is all about. And the implications for us in human design, once we see this, this knowledge. And by the way, I feel completely justified in using this new version of the I Ching in leading us to these new directions, because the I Ching is the foundation of human design and the gene keys to begin with. It is the fundamental piece of it. So, we must assume that they all share this kind of common purpose to some degree. Yeah, so the implication for us in human design is, in my opinion, the cosmic human design chart represents the true self, and which is kind of this, like it says here, this original perfect program designed by the cosmos and given to us at birth. And then there's a very interesting, a very cool quote here talking about that. In its cosmic meaning, the word innocence describes human nature in its original condition before it has been colonized by the collective ego, as in perfect harmony with the cosmos and completely adequate in all respects to enable a person to live his life happily. So this is saying that your original program, there's nothing about it that would be lacking in any way in your life. So if you're living according to your true self, there's no lack, there's no, because this program is perfect, and you're going to be perfectly happy. And so many different ways. It's only when this program, the original one, gets overwritten by what it calls here a thinking program. So the feeling program that gets overwritten by this thinking program, a purely mental program. And so it's interesting there, the definition of innocence by the collective ego thus shifts the faculty of discernment from feeling to thinking. This shift is accompanied by ceasing to speak in terms of what feels harmonious or discordant to mental terms that define what is good or evil. By this simple stroke, scroll down a little, Greg. The ability of discernment is taken away from the individual and its source in his inner truth and given over to the collective ego as the authorizing institution for all judgment about the nature of things. And that's just something you can see very clearly today is in our culture, our society, we tend to, there's this trend of dismissing your feelings, oh, well, your feelings aren't really reliable. We have to trust science, we have to trust objectivity, what we can see, what we can logically reason.
Rationality. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a cult of rationality, in modern science.
Yeah, I also wanted to add in there that, the ego is so strong that I don't know about you guys, but I don't know very often that I'm in perfect harmony with the cosmos. Like even in the moments where I feel very relaxed and very connected, I still don't feel like I'm away from my ego, so to speak. It's still hanging on, and it's still trying to push an idea in my head or give me an itch on my back or something that's going to continuously remind me that I'm here, so
yeah.
It's very interesting how strong that damn ego is.
Yeah, Greg, I think that we have momentary pulses of, I don't want to say killing it, but not paying attention to it. Something else is stronger, is superior. When we're in a pure intuitive channel, when we're having fresh thoughts, the thoughts are just coming to us. The words are just coming to us. We're not trying to manipulate it. We're not trying to make something happen. We're just in the moment. We're just being ourselves. We feel our vibration raising. We see synchronicities. We become one with things, right? I just did it a little bit where you get in the flow of where that's not there, but so often it creeps in. It creeps in. You start to think. I'm so glad Richard brought that up earlier, because I wasn't even reading the words on the screen, but just before Richard spoke, I was thinking as you were talking, Richard, about, everything would be provided. Nothing would be in lack. And I was just thinking, yeah, if we just followed our feelings. And then you brought that up because it's so simple. And they talk about the epic of those that rise, not everybody, but those that rise to the top, which is survival of the fittest to a sense. We are going to follow our feelings and not our thinking, which is what karma is, the thought, the rationality, or, the material world that you view as the factual world in front of you that isn't really factual. The only factual is energy, frequency, and vibration, and you are in control and or harmony with that. And we have that capability to do so, and that's where we're going when we follow those feelings. Now, that's different than a sensory urge of an addiction, right? Or of something to fill a void. So there's all kinds of other things. Obviously, we could get into a conversation of following your urges in a negative way, which you could even say is your ego, connected to that. But when you follow your true, innate enrichment, what's enriching to you, what you love, what you're in joy of, what you feel to do in the moment, where you really want to go, what you really want to let go of, right? That's a hard one for people. Those kind of feelings, the universe will pop up and help you right away. Countless times I have seen how if I follow that urge, it shows me the carrot. And many times I don't take the carrot because thinking comes in and you go back, and many of us do this,
Mm.
The universe is waiting to help us, but we don't help ourselves, and we have to just pay attention to, am I thinking for myself critically, or is something thinking for me? Am I hearing the words of what society wants me to be, of what my past wants me to be? Am I convinced that I must fit into something? Anything that you're feeding the external or following the carrot of the external that's not felt inside. So remember that and go inside and feel it. And this is going to be a journey, because even when we know our cosmic human design, right? Because we're adapting to a new way of being, which is following the feeling, not needing to fit in into the external. And inevitably, this meat body, this physical body, is just as limiting as this ego is inside of our brains or bodies, in the sense that it's convincing us we need survival. It's convincing us that we must have sensory needs that we don't or stimulation that we don't necessarily need. So we have to have control of our true selves, who we really are. And then as we do this, understand the suit, which is what cosmic human design shows us, the true suit, and help us follow the manual. This is the pure manual towards actually being who we are, trusting in the universe and ourselves, and following our true feelings, and then watching what happens. And then as we go through time, gradually, we don't give in to that control system. It dies out because we're not giving energy and attention to it. And then the select few that choose it enter the new world, and we have a new way of which we function and how we view reality. And all those are just a bunch of words that I just said, right? Which is where everything stems from inevitably. So you are creating your own hell and heaven at the same time, and it's up to you with what you do with it. But this design is here to help you be you in a way that hasn't been here before. And let's be honest, we forgot as a race, we fell, we forgot, or we chose to go through this awakening where we didn't remember. And this is one of those positive carrots to help us remember and just go back to being ourselves and being okay with that's good enough. And I seek my ambitions, and that's great. And that's where I'm going. And who cares what anyone else thinks or where I fail, because I'm enjoying the process. And that's where we're going.
Yeah, absolutely, Jarin. Good job. And yeah, if you want to think about, following your feelings, going with your intuition, and creating great things in your life, remember that you might ask for a cake, and you might get the bowl and the eggs and the milk and the batter, but you say, "Where's my damn cake?" You don't realize that the universe gave you all the ingredients. It's up to you to put them together and make your cake. So keep that in mind. Richard, you wanna sum this up for us here?
Yeah. So another thing that you guys should know is, human design has all these different names for all the different types and profiles and lines and gates and all that. Well, in this new I Ching, it provides a more cosmic perspective of many of the hexagrams, that in a tangible way that you can really see clarifies the meaning of it. So that's something I'll be doing in the future as well, that we'll be doing, is coming out with new names for a lot of these words that are used in human design, that reflect this more cosmic perspective, which can change a lot of the meaning and connotation behind the words that you see. And that's very important when you're looking at your chart and you see a word, that word's going to have an effect. And hopefully let's have it not be a negative one.
Right. It's your positive words, and at the very least, neutral, neutral sounds. So I think, as much as you reiterated at the beginning, it's not just an astrological shift to the truth of something that is not true, but within the context of the old words that are used in conventional human design, to using words that are more affirming towards where we wish to go, and affirming to the pure self of infinite potential, as opposed to the negative words, which in a way are a matrix of control in and of themselves, to cause us to feed the ego or try to be something not only different than we are, but try to fix our sins, so to speak. That's where I see a lot of these words of the past going. They fall into that religious context of needing to fix yourself.
Yeah, speaking of feeding the ego, there's this very interesting section here where, I talk about the rave I Ching, which is what Ra wrote for Human Design. There's some very interesting things, concerning the rave I Ching, because Ra, there's this quote he made that says the rave I Ching was, quote, written for the not self. It's kind of this mysterious quote. Nobody really figured out what it meant. So not self, it's a term used a lot in Human Design. And after we read this new I Ching and see what is talking so much about the ego, we can see that it's pretty much the same thing, the ego and the not self. That's another way of saying it. So the rave I Ching, the Human Design, what Human Design uses, was written for the ego, is another way of saying that. And I counted it, Ra uses the word ego over 100 times in his gate and line descriptions of the 64 hexagrams. In the rave I Ching, over 100 times, he uses the word ego. And very often he talks about the ego in a positive light. So that's very interesting, especially after we read this cosmic I Ching and see that, whoa, the ego is actually everything bad, and hardly anything about it is good. So that's very interesting. And it's also interesting, Ra named the heart center the ego center. Why would he do that?
Yeah.
Why would he do that? And he was an ego manifest. He is an ego manifester in Cosmic Human Design. He's got the 4521 channel, ego manifestation.
It's so perfect.
Which he's the one who called it that, right? Ego manifester. He's the one who gave it that name. And he had all 4 gates of his heart/ego center, all 4 of them activated. And he's always saying in lectures how he has this huge, massive ego. I mean, I don't know, but that seems like a little too many coincidences, synchronicities for not to mean anything.
And it's and on a positive note, Richard, from my perspective, it also shows the perfect design to initiate Human Design to the world at its phase at that time, whether right or wrong, right? Having the ego, will channeled manifester, that's his real design, whether right or wrong, initiating it. And so now we're in the next evolution of that, right? We've risen, and now we're in the next evolution of what that is, and we're adding to it and adjusting it. But Rod did his job. The issue is, where did it come from? What's true, what's not? And are you attached to having it be the only way? We're sharing another way. I want to just lastly say really quick about, you talked about the I Ching being written in the not self, or the rave I Ching. And it makes me think of the new movie coming out with Doctor Strange, where he screws up the universe and people are coming in and beings are coming in from the other universe. And in the previews, you see that he faces his negative self. Like, that's his biggest demon, is he's facing his negative self. And that's what it was making me think of when we're following a manual that feeds that negative self. And then we wonder why we lose to it. Because, anyways.
Yeah, very interesting.
So Greg's like movies, so I threw that in there.
That was good. It was a good analogy.
So, my hypothesis is that, the original, I think we can say that the original Human Design chart, represents the ego in a person. And the Cosmic Human Design chart represents the true self, which, are just different programs of consciousness. One of them is true, the other one is false. And so that's what I think the original Human Design chart represents. It's like this grid, literally this matrix around the Earth through tropical astrology that creates it, that you know, throws everything off just a little bit, you know, with the light rays coming in. And
there you go, the matrix. You said it, the quarantine,
you know,
the matrix.
that could be creating this whole artificial consciousness field that affects everyone to some degree. Yeah, because, you know, that's how the original chart seemed to me. It seemed that it was true kind of at the surface level of things. There were things about it that I was like, oh, well, that makes sense, you know, that I'm that, you know, yeah, okay. But it didn't really sing to me, you know, in my heart, you know, being what I was. It was like, you know, checking off, you know, the check boxes, you know, something someone could obviously see, or, you know, like the first thing they would see if they saw you or something like that. Which is why I say the level of appearances, which is where and how the ego operates.
Yeah, Richard, I can attest to the ego being the old design, you know, and I practiced it and followed it and tried to master it, or at least incorporate major aspects of it for many years. And what I'll say is, just like everything else, where you can easily be enticed, there are parts in it that do feel like me, and parts in it that, in a sense, I could go towards and be. They didn't necessarily feel right, like you said, and they're a lot of work. It's really difficult, and it brings you into a lot of shadows. And what I've learned from my new self in this past year in looking at it is, there's some similarities, but there's slight differences that make huge changes on my way of being. And usually it's more internally based as opposed to externally based in the way in which I approach life. And it's made life much more clear in seeing the truth of it. But I could see very easily how most people that have no idea about design, let alone no idea about astrology, let alone have no idea that they even create their reality or anything of what's going on in the world, and could be heading towards the path of what the old quarantine mathematical system of time and conditioning would bring them. And that's where I feel the majority of society has been going, is towards trying to fit in to that mold. And when people just awaken to the real selves, my God, now it doesn't even matter what's going on in the government or what's going on in this system or that system or that system. This is how we break ourselves free energetically, by following our real self. Go ahead, Richard.
Well, you know, that's all I had to say on that part, I suppose. But yeah, you know, this thing with the ego is actually the, you know, according to the I Ching, it's the primary purpose of the I Ching. The reason for its existence is to help free people from this ego. Why? So that they can actually live out their uniqueness, which is, you know, there's, you know, imagine that there's this cosmic plan in effect at every moment of your life to help bring out your own uniqueness. That's really happening. Everything is trying to help you, except those false ideas and beliefs that you let into your psyche and let have power over you and, you know, scare you. So yeah, that this, you know, freeing us from the ego is the main purpose of the I Ching, and thus we can say it's also the main purpose of the gene keys of human design. And yeah, I think it's a continual evolution, you know, of these systems. I mean, think about it, you know, in cosmic human design, I'm still using the same terminology, the same lines, gates, and everything as in human design in the gene keys. And it works fantastically well. I haven't changed a thing yet. You know, I mean, I don't really think that could work so perfectly if this, you know, wasn't all part of one stream, of one evolution of this knowledge.
Richard, we got about 15 minutes left here. I don't know if you wanted to come back to this next episode, or you wanted to be able to sum it up here.
Yeah, we can go ahead and talk about the quantum financial system. I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah. I mean, like usual, Richard, you have a ton of information, all very valuable, and we just want to give you enough time to be able to get through all of it. Go ahead, Jarin. You had something.
I agree. We'll continue with that as we go forward, and we're looking forward to hearing what you got to say about the quantum financial system and how it's connected.
Yeah.
To our genetics.
Yeah.
Switching gears here. So I was, as I am usually, led by my intuition. So I came across a Twitter page that was this guy named Whiplash, and very interesting character, and he had all kinds of great information that I had never seen before. So I started to, kind of look into it a little bit, and sometimes it's worth your time and sometimes it's not. But this happened to be really good. And so I started to go down the rabbit hole of the quantum financial system, NESARA, JARIN, and all the new information now that's out there. So Lobster, which is not spelled with an ER, but an R on the end, minus the E, is a new app that is in development. It's not quite up to speed yet, but it's with XRP and crypto coin and stuff. But anyways, this is where it seems like is going to be the source of the quantum financial system, which is connected to NESARA and JARIN. If you've never heard of them before, you got another rabbit hole to go down. But this is where it gets interesting. So I got onto a video that was a 3-hour call, and it was, I don't know if anybody out there has ever heard of Pleiadians before, but supposedly Pleiadians are helping with this system, putting it together. They say that they cannot interact with it because it's our free will to do what we want with it, but it has been designed by the Pleiadians. So this system is now active for the most part. It's getting to that point. But the most important part about this system is it's 5D, which means it's going to react to us as our emotions, as how we feel, as how we act as people. That is when you're rewarded in the system, when the system comes on board for you. So it's a whole nother shift in money, because the way we deal with money now in society is that we look at it either as a tool that's going to give us power, that's going to feed our ego, that's going to bring us to these goals that we have set for ourselves, or it's going to be evil to us, right? It's going to be always tripping us up and making us feel bad, and I don't have enough, and on it goes. Well, this new system is all about you feeling as one, as high vibrations, as I'm going to do good for myself and others around me. Humanitarian. So it's a very different system. So I'm going to play you a 3-minute clip. Obviously, I can't explain all of this complicated quantum financial system to you, but I do have a link that is in all these places you're watching this video right now. And you can go down and you can click on the quantum financial system video, and it's the whole 3 hours there if you want to watch it and check it out. But I'm going to give you a 3-minute clip here of something very interesting, because she mentions the gene keys, which is connected to this our cosmic human design. So pretty cool that in that moment this synchronicity came, and it
natural environment.
It just reaffirms what you're doing sometimes, when you're like, wow. So, all right, let me just zoom this in right. And right now, there's a caller on the line. He's finishing up, and then she's going to speak. So here we go.
And there's a predisposition towards diversity. So we just need to be careful to cherish diversity. actually, one of the privileges of being on a prison planet is the high level of diversity. The architect, he needs to manufacture division. In order to do that, he needs to create artificial separation. But for us, it offers us an opportunity to transcend and the appropriate catalyst to progress very quickly. So it's somewhat of a paradox, but I think you know what I'm talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about. But when we're talking and communicating to the people, I think material selfishness or the shadow side of the ego, I still can't find an appropriate word. Maybe if you reflect on it, you can. But just a little bit more specific with the dark side of what we're trying to. It's ego. It's definitely related to the ego. In astrology, the solar eclipse is represented as the ego, and it can be hijacked. And this is where we get the narcissist and all of that stuff. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay, you still had one other point I wanted to address, and thank you for that. There is a book called Gene Keys by Richard Rudd, and he talks about the shadow state and the gifted state and the enlightened state. And as you pointed out, like if you heal the shadow state where the ego is in fear, then you elevate into the next level, which is giftedness, which is the most comfortable state for most people. And then some people have this added genius, which puts them at the Siddhic state or the enlightened state. And you can experience ego in all three. However, the two elevated states are smoother to transition out of those shadow states with deeper compassion and understanding. So I do recommend that book. You mentioned what's going to happen with all of these people who are, buying up wallets, and what about people who bought wallets from fear? And we could express that as people bought from their consciousness challenges. They bought from fear that the resource was going away. That's lack consciousness. They bought from hoarding consciousness. They bought from I have to get me mine before it's all gone. They bought from scrapping consciousness. They bought from competition. They bought from all kinds of these consciousness challenges. And it's okay. I am not here to judge any of that. I'm here to help people forgive and release the judgments that they had when they went into purchasing. So we have the ability, because we're so sophisticated spiritually and physically, emotionally, mentally, and even inside of our abundance body, we have the ability to say, oh, I did that. I take interpersonal responsibility for buying at really big levels because I wanted to have the most. I wanted to have the most control of that asset. I wanted to make sure I had enough. I wanted to make sure that I came out, X, Y, and Z. You have so many different fears that get expressed. It's hard to enumerate all of them. But we can raise our hand and say, okay, I own that. I did that. And now what do I do? Well, now we conflict resolve it. And that takes self-awareness. And it means that we look inside of ourselves and we say, whoa, I raced. And I stayed up till 2 a.m. sitting in bed with the glow of the phone on my face. I mean, let's be funny about this because humans are funny. And I stayed up all night buying Indus or whatever. The point I'm making is we can undo what we did so that the experience is more pure going forward. And if you come over to the Leap of Consciousness, I will review all of the steps for how to move through this so that we clear the existing fears that we put into the system. Fear of not having enough, fear of needing to live paycheck to paycheck for the rest of our lives. I will start finding all of the financial fears that trigger people and begin sharing more of those so that they can be healed.
All right, very good there. Okay, so let's break that down a little bit. So it sounds like fear of consciousness or leap of consciousness is what she has. I think that's on Telegram. So what's going on here is we're talking about fear, right? And she's talking about all the different types of fear that people use in money. And the same is going into crypto, same is going into tokens, whatever you want to call your funding. It's you're attaching fear because you have had this ego and you've had this programming your entire freaking life about finances. I mean, if you were born a rich kid, you still have all kinds of hang-ups on money. It's a different one, but it's the same thing. It's all fear-based. So when we move into this quantum financial system, how important is cosmic human design? How important is it to know who you are? How important is it to know the gene keys? How important is it to be versed in the I Ching? All these things, because you need to be centered. You need to be calm. You need to be happy in what you're doing in order to use this type of system. What do you guys think?
Yeah, Greg, speaking of synchronicities, it was interesting. A guy talked about the ego a lot, and we just talked quite a bit about the ego. The ego, this fear, it's really based on a fundamental doubt about your ability to be sufficient in and of yourself in the world. That's what a lot of people doubt. They doubt that they are really good enough, that they have the ability to, get the necessary money, finances, and so, they hoard the money, they spend the money in unrational ways. That's part of the conditioning. The idea that you need to be at a certain position in society in order to, or else you won't make it. In a way, it's what we've been doing is making people dependent on these institutions by instilling that doubt that they are good enough in and of themselves. And if they went their own way, then everything would materialize for them, in one way or another. But that's something that, most people have a hard time believing. So they have to go through one of these well-trodden paths, that are already carved out in the financial system, the broken financial system, that keeps it broken. So really, this new quantum financial system could be instigated by more and more people following their true self without worrying about anything else or trying to do anything else, and just went with that, with all their heart. So yeah, that's something cosmic human design can help you with.
Jarin, what do you got?
Yeah, fantastic video. I loved it. I loved how he talked about ego a lot. And of course, we loved that she mentioned the gene keys. And besides fear, just since we're talking about money, lack, right? All these things follow, fit into the shadow state since of Richard Rudd's gene key book, right? The shadow state. And to me, it makes me think about a few things. Yes, we talked about being yourself. So this is the cosmic human design way and being your real self. Okay. The other thing is forget even an identity or whatnot, or what gene keys we have or what ones we don't, because we experience all 64 hexagrams, all the time. It's if I'm confident in myself and in the universe and or God, however I want to look at it, and I do things with integrity as I go forward, and I have the ultimate faith no matter what, and I hold true to my convictions, and I just be me and enjoy the ride, things are going to work out. It doesn't matter what the system is in front of you. So like we could label getting involved in this as a negative thing. Well, what if for one person it wasn't? What if it's a negative system, but that one person did it in the right way and benefited from it and then was able to help others with it? And then there's good systems where someone comes at it from manipulation and then that happens. It makes me think of my guru talking about the wasted brainstorming, how we waste our times trying to think of strategies and of answers and what we're going to do, which is all based on the limits of the past and of conditioning. And then the lady talked about being on the phone till 2 a.m. and saying, this is the way. And I'm going to show people, I'm going to wait, I'm going to blast this radiation off my head while I'm staring in the middle of the night, get the right thing. And you can get benefits from it, but the reality is you're doing it externally. And if you're doing it from a source of survival, of fear, of lack, of limit, which we all do, I'm not pretending like I don't, but if we do it from that, that's what the result's going to be. And if we do it from the place of what I said earlier, then you're going to watch miracles happen in things that look like they're failures. It's all dependent on you, on your integrity. And what I like that you're discussing about with the QFS, Greg, is the idea of us moving into a place where not only are we living this way, but the technology lives this way, that when we act in accordance to the higher virtues, we have a system that helps materialize with us and for us in the harmonious universe of where we want to go. But it's still going to make people have to be it themselves. They're going to have to live the higher way. They can't fake it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be authenticity. And, when we talk about, having this new way of doing things, it's almost like going back to the old way of barter. You had a skill and you were confident in your skill, and you would go around and you would say, hey, I have this skill. Would you trade with me? it was a very authentic way of doing business. I'm sure there was some shysters out there that tried to sell you bullshit, but it broke it the moment he walked away. But for the most part, it was authentic in our way of doing business with one another, right? I have a pig that you can have if I can have a chicken, right? Or I have a craft that I can do if you can, give me some seeds for my garden. It was very simple, simplistic. And we hope that as we move into this quantum financial system, which of course, you have your naysayers out there. Naysayers are everywhere at every minute, right? Their ego. And every time I bring up anything positive, guess what I get? Well, we'll see. We'll see. Okay, thank you for your your confidence in anything whatsoever that's going to be positive. All of back to that manifestation, Jarin, where, the moment you try to do a manifestation and you tell somebody about it is the moment it breaks down, because they're coming back at you with negative energy. And so working in harmony, hopefully this system can go back to the past and use a lot of what barter did, but also have futuristic things where you can use your phone and different things to exchange money and all that stuff. So you have a little bit of combination of everything, of authenticity with technology. And that's where we're hoping it's headed. And if Pleiadians are designing this system, I would imagine it's going to be really good. Wouldn't you think, Jarin?
Well, yeah, it's my cousin.
Your cousin, the Pleiadian. Richard, you got any final words here?
Not really. Totally serious.
Greg, just a little tidbit from the I Ching. It says that actually there already exists what it calls this natural order of society. So there's and it's similar to the concept of the synarchy and the gene keys. The idea that everyone is already connected in this invisible web of relations that would prevail if they weren't covered up by this parasitic society that we've built on top of them, and that would surely include things like barter and stuff like that as well.
Absolutely.
And so, maybe the quantum financial system already exists. Maybe it's very, very simple. It'll be good with all the high tech stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, a nice, a genuine place to do business, not to feel that stress, that fear all the time is, I hope, where we're headed, because that has been something that's followed me around a lot of my life, and I'm sure most people in the audience as well. It would be quite the life to live, to not have to worry much about money anymore, right? So really good stuff. All right, I want to thank Tina and Alicia for writing us on our chat boards, and all the other people who were watching along with us. I didn't get much time to get to you guys, but I appreciate you writing in. All right, everybody, that was our Cosmic Human Design podcast for this evening. We are back in 2 weeks on Wednesday night, 7:30 p.m. we start. And you can go to cosmichumandesign.com if you want to get your free chart. Richard's got all that over there for you. And you can also watch us. If you're not watching us on YouTube right now, you can go to youtube.com/cosmichumandesign. That's how you find all our old episodes and all kinds of other stuff that Richard has uploaded on there. Good stuff there. And you can join the Facebook groups and pages as well that Richard throws some long, amazing written essays on there about cosmic human design. So thank you, Richard. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you on the next episode. Have a great night.